All right, guys. Welcome to a special training. Today's going to be Tuesday, January 6th. It's 8 p.m. Eastern time. I'm actually based internationally right now, guys. We had some technical difficulties, but that's how you know this is real. So I am in Africa handling some properties and all that good stuff. That's how you know when you start building things, you start having bigger problems, which are good problems to have. And just so you know, right, live music, it shows 84% I am live because we do not do pre-recorded nonsense here, guys, right? So if this is going to be your first training that you've had with us, what I want you to do is comment live below. Comment live, just so we know you're actually real. There's no bots in here also. And then if you're going to be watching a replay, because we'll try to get the replay out probably next week. Can't guarantee that. That's why we always make sure these are live. I want you to comment replay below. Comment replay, just so we can see who's actually watching, where you're watching from. And the next natural question I'm going to ask you is, where are you located? So right now, I was actually in Dubai, handling some business. We're expanding. So obviously we're going international. Now I'm actually in Africa. So I'm staying up till 4 a.m. to get on with you guys. But I want you to comment the city and state you are watching this from, right? Because I'm really interested to see. We're getting a wide variety of people. We had some people from Thailand, Indonesia, the US, obviously Canada, South America, because we have an office there too. But I actually want to see where you guys are at. And then obviously this is an interactive live, guys, just so you know. This isn't pre-recorded. This isn't just, hey, follow along, read after me. No, there's going to be a Q&A section. So if you have some burning questions about this business, maybe you're in a synonymous business, you're a business owner, investor, and like, hey, man, I just need one question. I'm ready to rock. Who knows? But we will have a Q&A question section after, right? So South Carolina, Parkland, Florida, replay. Hello from Los Angeles, California. Lorenzo, Donald Hustle. Awesome, guys. Awesome. So a really unique group of people. I'm liking it. I'm liking it, guys, right? So just so you guys know, my name is Get Techland, founder of Dividend Shifts. This is going to be a training on building a digital payment business. Just so we're all on the same page, it's not traditional merchant services if you are in the space. If you're not in the space, you know what I'm talking about, no problem. We're going to break that down for you in a second, all right? So the way this is going to go, I have a pretty cool presentation, breaks down step-by-step what you need to know logically. I come from a teaching background. I was in the Marines, had some cool units, got into law enforcement after that. I was in charge of some cops, so you had to kind of learn how to teach people. So when it comes down to like this business, it's super simple. So I break it down like third grade level. Because I'm going to tell you guys a secret. If somebody can't break something down to you at like a third grade level, like your niece, your nephew, your son would understand, they don't know what they're talking about. So we keep things as simple as possible. The biggest business owners understand this also. We use frameworks. That way you know what to do and so you can be successful, right? So if you're excited, you're ready to rock, what I want you to do is comment ready below. Comment ready, because I get motivated. When I see these comments, I'm looking on the right side of my screen, even though there is a delay for these comments. I want to actually see what we got going on, guys, right? So while I'm doing that, I'm going to actually pop open this presentation that I prepared for you guys also, and it is live just from today specifically. So let's just make sure you can see this in a second, guys, right? And then I do have a team member in the comments also. One of my assistants will be moderating the comments. So if you do have a question and you forget to put it for later, we will remember, we'll answer it. We're just going to tag it at the end too, guys, right? So let me just pull up this share screen. Let's do this. And we got this bad boy popping open right now, guys, all right? So this is going to be what we call the set it and forget it digital payment revolution, guys, right? And we're not talking about Venezuela here, right? So if I got any Delta Force guys in here, we're not talking about that. It's okay. We don't need to be censored, okay? But if you are looking for some new beachfront property, I heard Caracas is going to be one of the good places, right? But all jokes aside, guys, all jokes aside, let's get into this freaking training, all right? So with that being said, I have like multiple screens up, so I'm going to have to move this bad boy right here. I want to talk about today's agenda. So I'm going to break down 3 main subjects that will lead to your success with this business, with or without us. Full transparency, we do have a program. We help you build this business. I'll break that down at the end. If you want to work with us, awesome. If you don't, use this to build this business on your own. The only thing I ask is you tag us, meaning that when you're up and running, you're successful, you're holding a device, you're smiling, you say, hey, the first time I heard about this was some crazy dude on the internet, all right? That enough's alone for me. You're going to fill my ego, guys, okay? So if you're ready to get started, figure out exactly how you can build this business with or without us, what I want you to do is comment info below. Comment info. And the reason why is because ultimately, as long as you have the right information, you can do whatever you need to. That's very simple. A lot of times we just lack the information to get started. That's it. It's not that you lack the character traits, you lack the opportunities. It's not. You literally just need the info. And you're not going to find this on ChatGPT. You're not going to find it on Manus or Sora or whatever, because let's just be realistic. This industry is kind of gatekept and it's brand new. So you do need somebody breaking down like, hey, behind the scenes, this is what's really happening, right? So before we actually get started, I want to talk about something real quick. Something that's pretty dear to my heart, and it's, coming from a blue collar background and going into business, this is something I wish I knew. But let's talk about speed, right? Let's talk about speed. And we're not talking about I show speed, right? We're talking about speed when it comes down to starting this business. So we talk about speed and decisions. And this is, if you're a business owner, you're going to love this. And if you're always thinking about starting a business, you need to write this down. Take some notes, guys, right? So we're talking about speed and decisions, speed in business, and also speed in pivoting if it's necessary, meaning that maybe you're just on the bright spot, or maybe you're just not in the spot that stimulates you anymore. So you're trying to figure out, how to get that next boost to get to the next level. That's what we need to talk about. So the way I like to explain this is actually really, really simple. So the way I think about this is like this, right? There's two different types of people that start a business. There is the thinker and there's the doer, or the action taker, right? So let's talk about that thinker. That quote unquote thinker, somebody like this, right? You have to. And if you don't, it's probably you watching this right now, which is okay, but we're going to talk about it. So that thinker is usually somebody that's like really deliberate with any decision they make. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. And it's not, if you're a CPA, for example, I'm not talking about you. You are in a space where you're thinking about 1,000 pages of tax code. That's something different, right? If you're an attorney, you're an auditor, whatever. Okay. But we're talking about just in decisions in life and decisions in business. That person typically needs some time to think about their decisions, right? They have the time aspect. Like, hey, I just need more time, need more time, need more time. And it's like stress levels increase, the time elongates, right? They usually second guess themselves. And they're usually second guessing everything. You could literally have the golden scriptures in front of you, and they're like, I don't know, man, I got to think about it, right? You know the avatar that I'm talking about. They usually second guess others also. What I mean by that is, like I said, you can give them the right information. They're just not going to do it. They're pretty distrustful. I was this person. That's why I can talk about this so, I guess, in depth, because I come from the most skeptical industry you can think of. I was a freaking cop, guys, in Oakland, California. Literally, if I wasn't skeptical, somebody might shoot me. And I'm not trying to like get you riled up, but think about that for a second. So I'm describing my worst self from before into what you need to be successful in business. So what ends up happening is you start letting time go by. And the reason why is because ultimately you have to think about your decisions. You have to think about it because there's this source of like scarcity, this fear, this underlying thing that you really don't want to address. And unless you're, in a deep, dark corner somewhere and you're talking to yourself, that's the only time it really comes out. But that's usually what this comes down to. So when you're making decisions, days turns into weeks. Weeks turn into months. And when that person finally takes action, finally, whether it's a week later, a month later, etc., they feel very confident about it. Like, you're not going to question them. Literally, you can't convince them otherwise. They are firm. Their ego is through the roof. So I say that because, again, I come from this background. I come from the space of like, no, you're not going to convince me. And imagine like a cop pulling you over and they're completely wrong. Like, I saw you on your cell phone. Like, no. Excuse me. Like, I literally had a sandwich in my hand. Like, no, I saw you. You're looking down. It was next to your mouth. And you're like, I know it wasn't a phone. It was a sandwich. But like, you just can't convince them otherwise. That's literally what I'm talking about here to imagine this. So that's avatar number one. That is the thinker. Now let's talk about the opposite. So I always like to use opposites when I'm trying to explain a point. And the reason why is because if you know the left limit and the right limit, you're actually going to be very successful because you can figure out the positive side in the middle. So this is what we call entrepreneur number two. And that's usually the action taker. So that action taker, they typically act quickly. And what I mean by that is they're not irrational. So again, I gave you that example of being like a CPA, right? A CPA that does things quickly is not irrational and says, hey, there's rapid action. You realize you need to have speed with this. They interpret that data pretty quickly. So essentially, you have two different people, same set of information. One person says, I need to think about it, I need to research, et cetera, which is okay, totally fine. You have to do your own thought process and your own decision-making process. Then the other person's like, let's rock, let's make this happen. They move with speed. Keyword being speed, guys. If you remember anything out of this, take this away. It's the speed aspect. So what ends up happening is they actually let things break along the way. And what I mean by that is they're okay with maybe making a few mistakes to get to that same outcome versus the other person saying, hey, I want to make things perfect. So that way there's no mistakes along the way. So one side takes a little more time. One side says, I'm willing to actually take less time, but get there faster because I'm willing to take those lickings, as we say, right? So what ends up happening is they don't look in the rearview mirror. Imagine yourself driving down a road, 100 miles an hour. This is the same thing they teach us like when we're doing car vehicle pursuits, because you might be driving 100 miles an hour. You can't look in the rearview mirror. You're going to get somebody killed because you need to pay attention to what's in front of you. Instead, what you do is you only look in the side view mirror because you're always focused on going forward. You don't care about what's behind you because you're just going to rapidly keep moving forward. But you do need to know what's coming up on your right and your left so you can continually pivot along the way. So this is the exact same training. If you're going to be a police officer chasing a murder suspect down the freeway, the exact same thing in business. So what ends up happening is they're going to focus on direction. And what that means is they focus on the side view mirrors, not the rear view mirror, which is the past, which is extremely important in business, in life, in any decision you want to make. So the thought is this: their action is more repetitive versus consultative. So that thinker is thinking, okay, I need to consult Wikipedia, ChatGPT, Manus, Google, Yahoo, Ask Jeeves, AOL.com, whatever it is. But the other person's like, hey man, I just need to make sure I have repetitive action in this direction and I'll be successful, right? So think of like that dumb person you know that did pretty well. And you're like, I don't know how they did it. Well, all they did was take action. So for them, their action usually just takes hours, not days. They don't need to think about it. They don't need to consult with others. They're going to be comfortable being uncomfortable, which is to this day, guys, at 8 figures, it's the exact same thing. You have this uncomfort, but you're just used to it. It's like adjusting to a new climate and you realize, it's just going to be warm here. I'm just going to get used to it. So got a question for you guys. Between these two types, the thinker and the action taker, who do you think typically has more success? And this is just an opinion-based question. It could be more evidence-based depending on, if you have experience with this, but I want you to know, do you think it's going to be the thinker or do you think it's going to be the action taker? What I want you to do is, if you think it's the action taker, comment action. If you think it's the thinker, comment thinker. Give me a second. I actually want to know exactly what you're thinking of right now. So let's see some comments over here. I'm going to pop open these comments just so you guys know this is live too. So you see it on the right, the comments. We have the Texiante. I can't even see what your username is. Action. Lonzo. I think that's Alonzo. Action. Lorenzo. Action. Acrio. Probably spell check. Action. All right. You got to switch it back to English, man. All right. On your spell check. So we're getting mostly action that we're seeing here. Okay. So I'm going to agree with you. It's usually the action taker. And this is coming from experience of helping probably 4,000 plus people start their business across the US, Canada, internationally. It's usually going to be the action taker. And here's the reason why. It's going to surprise you. Well, that action taker usually can take 2 to 3 times more action in that exact same period. And this is with big decisions and small. It doesn't matter. You can just take more volume. So think about it like this, mathematically, because I love math, guys. Day 1, 3 times as much action as that thinker, because they're still thinking about it, right? I got to talk to my mom. I got to talk to my cousin. I got to figure out if this is the right decision for me, whatever. Then day number 2, they're at 6 times more action than the person. Day number 3, they're hitting 9 times as much. So you start seeing how this repeats. Day 4, 12 times as much, right? So if you're doing the multiplication table with your kids, you start realizing where this is going. So day 5, so on, meaning that as more time elapses, they continually outpace that thinker versus the thinker is, like I said, being consultative. They're taking a more deliberate approach. So day number 1, they got thought number 1. They're like, all right, we'll look at this, etc. Day number 2, they're usually analyzing what's going to happen. Day number 3, they're comparing it to other options. Maybe they're saying, hey, do you think this is the right decision for me? I got this going on, etc. You know what I'm talking about. Day number 4, they're asking around. They're asking for other people's opinions, which is the worst thing you do in business, just so you know, because usually the reason why they're giving an opinion is because they're scared. So they want to impose their values on you. That's another story. But day 5, they're resetting and they're building a game plan again, meaning that they say, no, I'm going to scratch that and start over. Meanwhile, the other person has 10 times as much momentum in that same period, and they end up winning. And just to be absolutely clear, guys, right? I'm not telling you to be irrational. I'm not saying take emotional decisions, YOLO, you only live once, let's go party. Absolutely not. That's not my lifestyle whatsoever. But when it comes down to it, let's be realistic. Success favors speed in business, in life, in any decision. And when you really think about it, I challenge you to do this. Look at any entrepreneur. And I'm talking about successful ones, not the ones in their bios, not the ones on TikTok saying like, hey, form an LLC. No. We're not talking about that. Real business owners that are successful, you got to think about it like this. They usually take more action. And the other thing is, if you're based in the US, the majority you are, you get incentivized to take action, to take risk. We're literally in the land of risk where you're okay, even if you fail. But when you really think about it, what is risk? Risk is literally figuring out what it is. You are just adjusting. You're making mistakes and saying, you know what, that didn't work. Not a big deal, but I'm going to keep moving forward. And it's one of the hardest things to do. So when it comes down to it, the way you want to think about this is just growing. This is literally any mistake you made in the past, you were an action taker at that point. And now you're at a new version of yourself. It's almost like you're shedding off that old skin. So you have to ask yourself, well, how does every single success story start? Think of those business owners that I mentioned, that business owner that maybe you look up to. Maybe it's like an entrepreneur that you heard a story of that you resonated with. Essentially, they say the exact same thing. That same thing was, I had to fail. I had to fail. I say the same thing. Jeff Bezos says the same thing. Sam Altman, the CEO of one of the biggest companies in the world, OpenAI, ChatGPT. Look up his company that he had before that. It failed. It failed miserably. But look at him now, multi-billion-dollar company that's going to be the fastest in the world. So you got to ask yourself, what's the difference? Well, the difference is this. They failed quickly. That's it. They failed quickly. So you got to ask yourself this. Is 2026 going to be your year, or are you going to let thinking slow you down? That's it. We had our chance to slow down, which is the holidays. December is literally the most important month of the year. You know why? You have two of the universal holidays in the world. You have Christmas, you have New Year's. So everything slows down. But we're now in 2026. You got to ask yourself, are you even going to take action? So if you're saying, you know what, 2026 is my year, and not even 2026, we're in the first week. So the fact that you're even here right now, come on, you already made this decision. I want you to comment action below. Comment action if 2026 is going to be that year. You're like, hey, I'm going to make it happen. It could be this business. It could be your New Year's resolution. It doesn't matter what it is. It comes down to, is this going to be your year, guys? Right? So I'll give you guys a second to catch up because I know there's a 30-second delay on this stream. But what I want to do is break down what we call the 2026 digital payments revolution, guys. I am super excited. This is going to be good, guys. Right? I'm telling you right now, my hotel, it is 4:25 a.m. I'm sure the neighbor's like, what is going on there? There's some craziness this guy's doing over here in English of all things. So before we get into this business and exactly how you're going to be successful with it, I want to give you guys a little breakdown of myself to even understand like why you even listening to me. Because let's be realistic. If I was just some random dude on the internet, I would say, imagine like you're talking to your cousin, your mom, or whatever, and you're like, I talked to this random guy on the internet. You're thinking like date night to catch a predator. So you got to know who I am, first of all. So my name is Gavin Tekla, founder of Dividend Shift. I am originally a blue-collar worker that has turned into an 8-figure entrepreneur. When I say 8 figures, that means multiple millions, guys, right? So I say this not to flex. I say this because you have to understand that this took a lot of things to get to this point. And I have some, some pictures over here breaking down some background. But essentially, it took me over a few $100,000 in losses to be here. That's it. And the reason why, guys, it's super simple. It's just I realized that shit had to change. So quick background, turned 18, joined the United States Marine Corps because I was just going to be realistic. I knew what I was going to do. I knew I was going to go to college. I knew I wanted to get a car, this and that. I figured, fuck it, let's join the military, right? And use those two words, guys. That really means a lot when it comes down to business. So ended up getting out of the Marines, didn't really have transferable skills other than shooting guns really well. So ended up in some pretty bad financial spots, right? Ended up in some deep credit card debt. Realized like, man, I'm really going down. I had like my wallet full of all these different credit cards that had a lot of high balances and minimal payments. So had to make a choice and I said, you know what? If I continue down this path, it's going to get worse. I started looking around at some employees that I was working with at dead end jobs. I was like, I don't want to be like you. And some of you guys have seen that. So I had to rip the Band-Aid off. I said, you know what? I'm not going to take some Tylenol from this pain. I'm going to figure out what's the cause. And it's going to be the cancer of living next to this oil field. So I decided to rip the Band-Aid off and slept in my car for a few months because I said, I got to remove my obligations and start from scratch. So everything was not looking that great. I'll put it that way, guys, just to cut it short. But I ran into a police officer. Randomly in the U.S. in California. Sheriff's deputy is a technical term, but it was one of those random conversations. And I remember chatting about the career and all that. And he asked me, he's like, "Hey man, why don't you just become a cop?" I thought to myself, "Yeah, be a cop, really, man." And this is probably the same thing you're probably thinking right now. I say, just start a business. So keep in mind, I'm thinking about this interaction for months. So you fast forward a few months later, things haven't changed. I'm just in the same boat, same position. Like, what is going on? I felt like I was doing a New Year's resolution every single month and nothing was changing. And that line finally hit me. So I figured, why not? And it comes down to this. This is a lesson. And I said, you want to remember these two words. And the two words are F it. When it comes down to it, let's be realistic. Sometimes some decisions just require you to say, fuck it. Because what's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to be in the exact same position you're in. So I decided, F it, be a cop. Let's figure it out. They pay pretty well. I'm going to find a place to work. And this is a California guy. So I applied to a lot of departments, kept getting denied, kept getting sledgehammers to the stomach of like, nope, nope, no, and just getting a lot of no's and figuring that out. So eventually got hired in Oakland, California, of all places. So if you do know this city and state, you know it's not the safest. I'll put it that way, right? You're going to have some fun. So got hired, $90K a year salary. You're thinking all good, right? Until I basically lost my job. And it wasn't over some crazy stuff. It was literally, you have to go through, imagine going to college and like 2 weeks before graduation, you failed the test. That's basically what happened. So I had to start all over. Embarrassing. It came down to it, but this is a lesson. Timing is everything. So right now, I'm just going to tell you right now, this may not be the time for you to start a business. That's okay. But at least you're getting the education because the timing is more important than anything. So do not rush into anything. But if you're on the fence, you're like, you know what, maybe right now, that's usually a sign that it is. So I ended up starting all over. Imagine going to college, right all over again. But things were okay. I'm getting paid, etc. Very embarrassing, but you have to brush off the ego and keep moving forward. So I got to ask you this. How many of you guys have been in that position? We had to start over, right? Because I've started over a lot of times in life. I want you to comment timing down below. Comment timing. If you've been in a position before where you're like, yeah, I had to start over from scratch one time, right? And the reason I say this is because it's usually applied to everybody, but sometimes you have to realize this is what it is. So you fast forward a little bit later, full time. You see a picture of me working in Oakland, California, working my ass off, just trying to figure things out. So I decided this. I'm going to work on volume. Meaning that I don't know what I'm going to do. I have no transferable skills, but I do know I have a great opportunity in front of me, and I'm just going to make it happen. So I started working every single day. No bullshit. Months straight, 7 days a week, 90 plus hours a week, because it was the only opportunity I had for me. I was like, I have to make this work. I decided to live in a basement. I was like, I'm going to reduce my expenses. I was already living in a car. Who cares? Lived in the hood next to the police station. Things were just like, whatever, right? You see a picture of my basement back there. And I decided I was just going to save every single penny, because that's all I knew at the time, until finally the best day happened. My net worth hit the zero number. And you're probably wondering, like, wait, I thought this was supposed to be like a happy story. It was, because when it comes down to it, got to pay off all my debt, decided, you know what? I'm at zero. So now everything else is house money. It's the same thing with business. I always break this down. It's like, once you start making, say, $1,000 a month, you knock out, 20% of your bills, and you start getting to a 100% point of knocking out all your bills, and everything after that at $1 is literally just profit for you. But I still had the save mentality. I didn't know any better. So all I knew was the job, the 9 to 5, I just could not do it anymore. I was like, I can't be here forever. And some of you guys have probably been in that same position. So I tried everything. Tried these different businesses. I tried FBA business. That didn't work out. I was working night shifts. I couldn't think creatively. Opened a retail store in San Francisco. Lost $50,000 on that deal. I tried some rental cars, some rental properties. Tried day trading, all this good stuff, guys. And you can imagine, like, there's a lot of money being lost because I see these ads on the internet. And I was like, oh, let me try that. Let me try this. Let me try that. And I was just getting hit left and right. I felt like Rocky, man. I was just like, dude, this dude's hitting me, man. So I was on the verge of quitting. I'm like Rocky in Philadelphia running up those stairs, guys. And the lesson in this, you can't be afraid to pivot quickly. You can't be, because when it comes down to it, sometimes the thing you're doing is just not working. You just have to adjust a little bit. I'm not saying completely change directions, move out of the country. I'm saying maybe you just need to pivot and change directions. How many of you guys have been in the same situation? Nothing seems to work. You get hit with the rule of 3. And if you don't know what the rule of three is, you better remember this. The rule of three is this. Anything that will happen happens in threes, meaning that it's like the rule of this, right? You know, they say everything bad that can happen will happen. That's not the true statement. It's just everything that can occur will occur. It's a philosopher's statement. Essentially, it's this. You go out the street, you forget your rain jacket, starts pouring rain, car drives by, splashes mud on you, and then you trip. All three at once, and you're at the verge of quitting. The thing is this, though. As those things happen, the lesson is this. Your motivation, the thing that you think I'm going to be excited, I'm going to make this happen, it's not going to be enough. And this is counterintuitive to all the woo-woo stuff that they say online. The motivation is not enough. You have to have a mission. You have to be clear on what you want, whether it's 5K a month, whether it's a Lamborghini, whether it's to pay for your parents' expenses. It doesn't matter what it is, but you have to have some mission. Because if you're clear on your mission, you will be successful. That's it, because your motivation will fade. You will have days where you're just like, I don't want to do this. You're making a lot of money. You're just, I don't want to do this. So if you're clear on exactly what your mission is, I want you to comment mission below. Comment mission. And the reason why is because number one, it's accountable. So you're accountable to yourself. Like, all right, this is the reason why I'm doing it. But second of all, you have to really identify, like, are you even going to be successful at this? Because if you're not, it's just not going to happen. If you don't have a clear reason why you are generating more money, you're just wasting your time because you're not going to be successful. So with that being said, thought this. When it comes down to it, there are two things, right? I call this 2 seasons, but you have to educate yourself on something, but then there's the season of earning. So I call this 2 seasons, the season of learning and earning. Right now, we're in the season of learning. We're trying to figure out exactly how this business starts, how to rock it, how to find the best locations, etc. Then we actually get into the point of generating revenue, right? But you can't skip that because it just won't work. So let's enter into the season of earning. I decided, you know what, the whole 9 to 5 is not enough. I'm making a lot of money, saving up, but I just need to figure something out. So I started investing into residual income sources. Think of like boring businesses like ATMs, credit card machines, everything, right? I had a few different things like, arbitrage, for example, with crypto. It's where I made a lot of money off of crypto like 10 years ago. But essentially, my whole idea was this. I need to have as minimal amount of time possible. I'm not lazy, but I just realized it just doesn't make sense. Why am I spending way more time on making less money? And then it got to the point where I said, hey, I'm just going to ignore the white noise. There's all these different ads, these posts, all these ideas, right? The idea fairy starts to hit you, but I'm just going to avoid all that. Instead, I just focused on increasing cash flow. Here's the reason why. Driving patrol one day, right? A few years in, it's like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but whatever, right? Kind of just numb, just rolling along. Run into this business owner. I didn't know he's a business owner. I was just driving up in the Oakland Hills. He's living in a really nice house. I knew something was going right. He's relaxed. It's a weekday. It's like noon. He should be at work. This is before we did the whole work from home thing. And I had to strike up a conversation. I was like, hey, man, I got a question for you. Like, what the hell do you do? Right? Kind of like that guy on I think, Instagram that always asks people, what do you do for a living? It was one of those. He's like, well, I own a few different boring businesses, right? And so I described him as boring. He didn't say it like that. But essentially, he's like, I have all these businesses that are just cash flow. And it was counterintuitive to what we're taught, which is save, save, save. 30 years in, 50 years in, you'll be happy, which is not the case. It's all bullshit to keep you as a slave. So after that conversation, I realized I just really need to focus on cash flow and businesses. Everything else I can reinvest into. Like I mentioned, I'm in Africa managing some investments. When it comes down to it, let's just be realistic. That wouldn't have been happening if I didn't focus on the cash flow. So you fast forward 8 years later, doing the exact same thing over and over, not a get rich quick scheme. You have to be willing to put in the years, right? I'm not saying shovel shit all day, but what I am saying is you have to be willing to say, this is not going to happen overnight. I'm going to build this up to be a cash flowing machine for you. So fast forward a few years later, ended up quitting the career, making a little over 200K a year, said, hey, it's time to go, quit the 9 to 5 forever, helped a few thousand people start boring businesses across the US, Canada, internationally, everywhere, scaled a few companies. And now we have built the only digital payment business for entrepreneurs, right? So you gotta ask yourself, why does this even matter? Why am I even hearing about this, man? Let's get right to it. The reason I say this is because your actions today, meaning right now, will begin your next chapter. You will not be successful unless you take action today towards whatever it is, guys. So if you're ready for the season of earning, you're like, hey, man, I'm done learning all this stuff, making all these mistakes. It's time for me to make my first dollar. I want you to comment earn below. Comment earn. And the reason why is because it's accountability. If you're not even willing to comment, let's be realistic. What's going to happen? What is going to happen? So let's talk about starting up this business on easy mode, right? When it comes down to it, I want to make sure we're all on the same page, right? Education-wise, because we got to be clear on what this business is. essentially, I got a few true and false questions for you. Okay. Again, I want to get your idea of like what this is, just so I know exactly how to structure this for you. So first question is this. You got to comment below, comment true or false. This business model, digital payment businesses, it exists everywhere already. If you believe it's true, I want you to comment true. If you believe it's false, like meaning it doesn't exist whatsoever, you haven't seen it, comment false below. Because I just kind of want to get an idea of exactly what you guys are thinking. Right? See what we have. A few different comments. And it looks like it's true. So this business exists everywhere. It's actually going to be false, meaning that it is very rare to see a digital payment system anywhere right now in the US. If you go to certain other countries that are a little more tech advanced, they have it. But in the US specifically, especially Canada, North America, it just does not exist. So next question. There are people waiting to pay with crypto, meaning that there's somebody out there like, hey man, I want to pay in crypto, right? This is probably one of the sticking points when the questions I always get. True or false? What do you think? There are other people waiting to pay with crypto. I'm gonna give you guys a second to answer just because I'm really interested to see exactly what the thoughts are, right? Let's see what we got here. Right, so let's see. All right, seeing true, I'm seeing true. All right, so for the most part, I am seeing true as the answer. Let's see right here. Okay, so we're seeing mostly true, paying with the crypto. Awesome. So the answer is going to be true. It's going to be true. There are people waiting to pay with crypto. It's one of the things that like blows people's mind, right? I was talking to somebody about this in Dubai the other day. Like, what do you do? I was like, oh, do crypto payments. Like, what? People pay with crypto? I'm like, yes. Let me show you the stat sheet that's going to blow your mind, right? Now, next question, right? I got one more after this. This takes tens of thousands of dollars to start. True or false? True or false? This business takes tens of thousands of dollars to start. I'm really interested to see what your guys' answer is for this. Because usually this is the one that's like a mixed bag where people are like, yeah, it takes like 100 grand, etc., or not. But I'm gonna give you guys a second to answer because I'm seeing a few different people. I'm super interested to actually see. This is gonna be interesting. All right. So I'm seeing some questions. Let's do this. And the answer is actually going to be false. So, contrary to popular belief, this business doesn't take tens of thousands to start. On your own, it will take a lot more, just to be frank, because there's a lot of things you have to do. But in general, especially if you're working with us, you usually get started with a few $1,000s. So, this is going to be one of the last questions, like I mentioned. Some of the biggest companies are already doing this, right? Like this building digital payment businesses, right? True or false? Some of the biggest companies right now that you know of, it's going to be a surprising answer for you. They are doing this already. So I'm really interested to see what the answer is here, because this one actually stumps a lot of people usually. So I'm really interested to see. So see what we got. Okay, cool. Some interesting answers. So it's gonna be true. There are some big companies. I'm gonna go over this in a second, but there are some big companies doing this already. And one last question. This is the last question because I'm really interested to see, because now you understand that there are big companies doing this. There's a lot of people willing to pay. So naturally the question is like, well, why isn't everybody else doing this? So the question is this saturated already, this business model that I'm talking about? Is it just like, now there's no hope for me? True or false? Do we believe that it is a saturated business? It is not worth getting into right now, guys, right? So see what we got over here. Pull up some of these comments, and it's going to be false, guys. It's going to be false. This is probably like the big blue ocean. This is like starting an Amazon business like 15 years ago, like an Amazon drop shipping business. That's how crazy it is. Nowadays, maybe not. But with this specifically, it is 2026 going to be wide open for this business, right? So let's break down how this actually works. I appreciate the questions and like the answers you guys had. Really interesting. So let's break down exactly how this business works. So super simple. You're gonna have a device like this. Actually, I have another one right up here. and it's going to be placed at different local businesses that don't have this already. Now, the customer is going to decide, hey, instead of Apple Pay or credit card, I'm going to pay in crypto, right? Now, there's various reasons why they do. Essentially, just bear with me. So that customer is going to choose which crypto they actually pay with, right? So there's multiple different options because let's be realistic, everyone's a fan of whatever crypto they own. So what ends up happening is that merchant enters in the amounts, right? So it could be $500, $200 plus the tip, 20%, whatever it is. But essentially, they enter in that amount, just like if somebody was paying with a credit card in front of them. Then what ends up happening is that customer scans a QR code. That's it. They have their phone with their wallet, wherever it's from, scan it, they send the money over, 30 seconds later, good to go. Less than that usually for the merchant, just like that check mark that pops up for Apple Pay, same thing. So what ends up happening is this: the merchant, instead of receiving crypto, because to be frank, they just don't care, they're going to receive the cash equivalent. So if they're going to get $100 in Ethereum, that's going to turn into $100 US because the merchant just wants to make their money. Because let's be realistic, they have workers' comp, inventory, employees, whatever, that they need to make sure they generate enough. So what ends up happening is you actually earn a percentage of that transaction. It's a simple business model. That's how you make your money. There's other different ways you can actually do it also, but essentially this is the main way you're going to generate all your revenue. So as you partner with more and more businesses, obviously you make more and more opportunities to generate more revenue. It's simple, it's scalable, requires minimal time, and there's no competition yet, meaning that in the next few months, you're going to start seeing more companies pop out. It is what it is. You're going to gobble up the market, but you have to understand that. So when it comes down to it, you got to ask yourself, like, why does this matter? Why does it matter? Well, essentially, we are stealing the exact same model that banks use right now. That's it. $100 billion industry, same model. Now, the model we're talking about is traditional merchant services, where business owner owns a device. They are charged about 3-ish%, maybe up to 4%. So it's either goes to the customer or themselves. Depending on the type of business, if you've been in a business where they say, hey, 5% to use a credit card or 25 cents, whatever, this is the example of that. So you have to say this: a shift is happening right now. There's a shift. And the reason why I can say this, and I know you understand this, is because you're on this training and you spotted it, like things are about to change. I can just tell. I feel it in the air, right? It's like President Trump talking about, was it Maduro, right? President Maduro. You're like, something's going to happen in Venezuela, guys, right? So some of the biggest companies, and you see them over here, Stripe, Square, Coinbase, PayPal, etc. They're doing this already. They're investing significantly because they want to be winners takes all, but they don't understand that that's not going to be the case. You can't, because every business is different. So you also see the government pushing this. You start seeing different organizations saying, yeah, let's buy some crypto, etc. So eventually they are actually pushing this to be mainstream also. Less than 10%. Less than 10% actually even start a digital payment business at theirs, meaning that they just stick to what they're doing. They don't know any better. So it's an opportunity for you. But here's the thing. You got to ask yourself, like, why don't they just do it themselves? Here's the problem. Number one, merchants weren't aware. It's not available yet with most companies. So you have an opportunity to actually take them over. And this leads to it being a massive opportunity for you. So you got to ask yourself this. All right. This is going to be a last question I'm going to have for you. How many businesses have you been to and seen doing this, accepting crypto payments? Comment the number below. I have a feeling it's going to be on the lower end, but I have a feeling sometimes I'm wrong, and I'm happy to be wrong, and you prove me wrong. So comment the number that you've seen businesses actually doing this, right? I'm interested to see exactly what you guys think, right? So seeing the false comments. Let's see if I can pop these comments onto the stage. Let's go here. Right. So not yet. False. Okay, cool. All right. So the question you ask yourself is, like, why did this even stand out to you? Like, why are we talking about this? And why are we bringing up the fact that we barely see any? Well, ultimately, when it comes down to it, is it's extremely rare. It's extremely rare to see this, which is your opportunity. So what I want to do is break down the beginner steps on exactly how you can take advantage of this opportunity on your own right now, guys, right? So let's talk about the foundational steps, because when it comes down to it, you have to have foundation to be successful. And I give all these analogies, but when I started, first business, I didn't have any foundations and things kind of crumbled down. So I'm trying to prevent this for you. So essentially all you're going to do is form a business, whether it's a corporation, LLC, whatever, get that up and running. Speed is key on this. Get your bank account, your business bank account, because number one, a few different things you can, but ultimately it comes down to this being an opportunity for you, right? So what you do is you form your business entity. Again, I mentioned what this is. In Canada, it's a corporation. In Europe, depending on where it is, it might be, or like, South America, it's a SaaS, but you do this. Then what you do is open that business bank account, because when it comes down to it, there is a few different options you get as a business owner, right? Super simple, but get that back up and running. And you want to account for initial expenses. And what I mean by that is you got to understand you got to pay for locations. You got to get the equipment. You got to make a few different investments for this business to start on your own. Now you have to ask this: do I want to focus more on sweat equity or investment? And what I mean by that is, like, do I want to do more stuff in the business myself, or do I want to just invest and have a little bit done for me? Kind of like having like somebody do your laundry versus you doing it yourself. It's the same thing in this business. How much convenience do you want to be up and running? So as we continue, we need to find a payment processor, right? We need to find a payment processor that does the actual crypto to cash. And then from there, make sure they're reputable. So we have our own. Obviously, it works because you see the people that are starting with this and being successful, but you have to make this determination. And you also want to make sure that they focus on multiple cryptos, right? Because the worst thing that can happen is a business says we only accept Amex. Like, but what about all the other people that have visas? Like, we don't want the money. That's not the case. So you want to make sure the processor you're working with accepts multiple actual cryptos. And then from there, you want to ensure that it is simple. Make sure things are simple. And the reason I say this is because ultimately, you need to make sure that that business owner can actually make a decision. And you want to be ensured that you're actually flexible with your offers. So what I mean by that is, as you find that big processor that may or may not do this, leaning on the actual no, you want to make sure that you can get creative on the offers, because there's gonna be different businesses that are like, hey, I want this much, I want that, I don't want this, etc. So you need to be creative also. And then from there, you got to make sure that processor has great support. So that great support, what I mean by that is like, hey, if a customer asks, if you ask a question, are they going to respond to you? Okay. And then from there, what you want to do is actually find local businesses. So when I say find local businesses, I mean, you want to find businesses that aren't doing this, which is the majority now. But as you get more and more people doing this, you can get a little more aggressive in who you call also. So question: which one do you guys want the sales guide? Guide that breaks down exactly what this is, step by step, pretty simple, video, etc. I want you to comment guide below. Comment guide if you would like a copy of this, guys. So let's continue. Essentially, what we want to do is we want to target the low-hanging fruit. When I say low-hanging fruit is we want to make sure that the businesses we're working on is going to be the fastest ones to sign up with us, because what ends up happening is then you are able to actually scale faster because you have revenue coming in. Cash flow rules everything, guys. Everything's solved with money. Let's just be realistic. Then you're able to focus on those other businesses that you want to also, because you have the success, you have the confidence. You can talk to business owners and say, hey, dude, I have 15 other businesses. Do you want to be the 16th, or do you want to wait for the 70th when it's going to be twice as much? So again, we then want to focus, right? And when I say focus, we want to focus on the niches. So if there's a specific type of thing you're looking for, what ends up happening is you want to understand that, hey, the riches are in the niches. Meaning that, like, if you can just focus on like restaurants, for example, all you do is build out your process for restaurants. If you focus on gold exchanges, you build it out for that. But essentially, that's what we're looking for also. And then from there, what I like to do is look for retail stores, right? So when I say retail stores, you're thinking of just a normal grocery store, normal liquor store, etc. is the ones we can focus on first because it's the path of least resistance, right? These are ones available, business owners are there, all that good stuff. And then from there, we want to focus on specialty stores. So I mentioned like a gold exchange, for example, but it's a specialty store that has special requirements. And when you understand what they do, then you realize, wow, it's gonna be a really profitable location for me. After, I like to go after restaurants because, again, business owners usually there, some manager that knows the business owner, whatever. So you have a better opportunity to actually reach out to them also. And of course, we have the smoke shops themselves. They always get screwed over with processing, et cetera, but these are one of the ones you can target to, right? So when it comes down to it, this is the thing. We like to pass the fee on the customer. And here's the reason why. Well, it's the fastest way to sign up. If you ever try to focus on this, right? So if you try to focus on the speed, right, on the way to get up there, here's the thing, right? We want to focus on getting these businesses up and running. So the way I always look at it, and it's super simple, is like, why am I going to go after something more complex? I want to be lazy and get this up and running. So now when it comes down to it, we want to focus on scaling after that, because let's be realistic, we're here to generate revenue. We have a goal, we have a reason why. So what you want to do is focus on the moment after you get your first location, scaling the hell out of this business. So speaking of scaling, what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to break down exactly what I call the 5K a month strategy. And again, this is your business. You're responsible for making sure it's successful. We obviously have ways that get you up and running, but this is ways that I would focus on to get this up and running myself. So if you do want a copy of this, because the first few minutes we covered a few different things you probably didn't write down, comment recap below. Comment recap. I'll go through these comments after, and then we'll make it happen for you. Right? So step one is going to be simple businesses first. So again, I keep mentioning this, but like, don't go after the complex e-commerce store that you can't get a hold of the business owner. Why? In the same time, you can find 5 local businesses that want to work with you easily. So go after that first. Then what we want to do is niche down. So you say, I like talking to grocery stores. I like gas stations like this, etc. But we focus on 1 to 2 different types to get up and running. And then from there, we start actually focusing on these 2. So great example is going to be gold exchanges, right? Gold exchanges are businesses where you go there and essentially you have $5,000 in cash. You want to buy specific gold items, and so they keep it. So instead of you doing a chargeback or whatever, right, because they don't allow cards, they want you to pay in cash. So if you're able to do this, this is a secret location that you can take advantage of too. So from there, what we want to do is build the referrals. So when I say build the referrals, what I'm referring to is this. Super, super simple. The person you actually work with at a business, you say, hey, man, I'm building up this business. I want to expand. What can I do to get you to refer people over to me? And they'll let you know. It might be $50. It might be like, hey, just make sure you give me a Google review, whatever. But we want to build a referral network. It's a secret. Then what ends up happening is people are going to start reaching out to you. So that's the main goal is to get people to reach out to you so you don't have to spend that much time in this business. And then, of course, we want to take advantage of the brand. So when I say taking advantage of your brand is you want to build up the reputation. So think of any business you've been to, right? Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Porsches, they have a brand behind them that, hey, Coca-Cola does this. Porsche does this. It's sports cars for younger people. Essentially, what ends up happening is like you want to take advantage because people are going to look you up also. And you want to do this, right? Because I kind of want to drive this point home. I mentioned like, Coca-Cola. I mentioned, Porsche. But think of any brand you bought from. Usually the reason why you bought from them versus a Chinese knockoff is going to be the brand. You trust them. You want to work with them. And people work with people they like. So when it comes down to it, you have to remember this. It's not going to be overnight. It will not be overnight. I cannot emphasize this enough. And I say this because when it comes down to it, think of it like this, right? That business ended up signing up with you, or you ended up working with that business because you like them, whether it's In-N-Out, whether it's McDonald's, whatever. There was a brand behind them. It wasn't Joe Schmo's coffee shop. You said, hey, this is Starbucks. I know they are known for this thing too. So the secret method, when it comes down to scaling this business, again, I keep bringing this up. So if somebody says something twice, it probably means something. It's referrals. People know other people. Business owners know other business owners. Friends of business owners know them and they refer them to you to continue to add more and more accounts, which leads to more and more actual revenue. So here's the thing with these businesses, you got to understand this, right? You have to understand this. If they're going to refer people over you, they want to get paid, right? So I'm not saying like, set a budget for 50 grand and just start paying everybody affiliates like an influencer. No, what I'm saying is this. If you're able to incentivize them, they will send you a lot of traffic, a lot of people that will sign up with you. And the merchants, like I mentioned, they know others. They know others. The bankers, they know others. When they sign up to open a business bank account, they actually speak to them. They know who they are. They can forward that information to you. So a little incentive will actually go pretty far. That's just the way it is, but it will go pretty far because of this, right? Now, there's the online secret. So when I say the online secret, I'm referring to is this. We just had this peptides business, right? They can't do credit cards, so they just signed up with us. They're like 10 to 20K a month. So there's be a lot of money being made off of that. But there's all these e-com businesses that are available for you too. What ends up happening is as you're online, your presence, they start reaching out to you. Business owners, et cetera, they start reaching out to you. So you ask yourself, well, how are these guys going to sign up with me? How are they going to find me, et cetera? Well, it's the same reason you found us. There might be an advertisement. You did a post, et cetera. But essentially, there's a way they found us, and that's why they're interested. So when it comes down to it, remember, business owners scroll. They go through the same things you do. So you just have to figure out how to speak their language, and then you're on the same point. So when it comes down to it, think about it like this, right? With these accounts, all right, you want to focus on, right? This is after you obviously sign up a few, is high value accounts. And when it comes down to this, think about it like this. No one talks about this. No one talks about this whatsoever, right? So you go to these businesses that no one's focusing on. I mentioned like paramedical tattoos, gold exchanges, et cetera. I gave you a few different ones, but essentially you want to focus on these because no one's talking to them. It's the path of least resistance. So in summary, right? To hit this number, if I was doing it all over again, I would literally simplify the process. I'd simplify the process. I know exactly what I'm offering, what I'm doing, et cetera, who's I'm working with. I'd build some systems out because I want to hire some people under me to work. And then I focus on scaling. So if you want a copy of this location targeting list, comment location below. Top 15 business I recommend. I'll email it to you right after. Just make sure you send me a message also. But I want to pass this on to you so you can take advantage also. Right? With that being said, let's talk about this. And this is what I call autopilot, right? Now, this isn't some freaking passive income scheme, right? And I say this because nothing's passive, right? Even if you have a rental property with managers, it's not necessarily passive because you still have to respond to requests, all that good stuff, right? But I'm focusing on autopiloting your business so you can get skyrocket. Think about it like you're driving a Tesla and you turn on the driver assist mode and you start getting on your phone talking to people. You're able to just let the car run while you're doing your other thing because you're busy, you have your family, et cetera. It's the exact same thing with this business model also, right? So there's a few different principles I like to follow to get to that point. Okay, and this is all in hindsight of making a lot of money. I realize this. Number one, this is long term. This is not, oh, you're gonna make 100 grand a month and all this. No. It's possible, but this is a long-term business. We only want real people that are serious about this business also. The second principle is gonna be this. Your time is worth more than your money at all times. Right now, it might not be worth as much, but it's always worth buying back your time, which means leveraging. So another trick and another tip I've learned is you always want to value your relationships, meaning that don't ever translate or don't ever convert short-term profit into a lost business partner. And what I mean by that is if you're that person that always wants to get that extra penny, that extra thing in the deal, nobody wants to talk to you, no one wants to work with you, and people like to talk, so you're going to start losing more and more. So I like to sometimes concede, meaning that, you know what, it's not worth it, just so you're actually able to be successful. Then, as you prove proof of concept, and what I mean by that is you decide, hey, you know what, this works. I just signed up a location. I talked to 10 businesses. They're interested. That's when you want to start building your team. You want to immediately start building your team because you're able to scale your business even faster. And when it comes down to scaling, we focus on efficiency. Don't just be a donkey doing the same thing over and over. We want to focus on like what's working, what's not working, et cetera, just to be successful. And so after that, you know, as we say, we outsource things because as you get better in business, you realize you just want to outsource things to get better. I like to outsource locations. When I say that, I mean, I like to have different teams or different, marketing teams find me locations because let's be realistic. Do you really want to go door to door to talk to all these businesses? You don't. You really don't. So let's avoid that altogether. Okay. Now we also talk about ads, right? And I say technology because it doesn't have to be ads, but essentially think about all the sponsored results you saw. You could be the next one with your solution also. So again, I bring up building a team. Well, the reason I say this is because you can't do things on your own, right? I learned this the hard way as a cop. I used to think I was a special snowflake, all that good stuff. It just did not work. Then again, maintain your online presence. So I say maintain your online presence. What I mean is this. Nowadays, if you do anything, I'm overseas, the first thing I do before I even order lunch is I look them up. I make sure they're legit. Their Google Maps, their Yelp, whatever it is. It's the same thing as business. When you talking to business owners, they're going to start looking you up. So you want to make sure you have an online presence, website, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So after you start generating income, this is contrary to popular belief, but you want to start diversifying. You have to diversify. And I mean this. A lot of people say, oh, reinvest, reinvest. I say you're making $2,000 a month, take out 1,500 minimum, reinvest that into something else because this is obviously going to work. Let's focus on building wealth versus some short-term riches. So I got a question for you, right? Who here would rather automate versus maybe do the business on your own? I want you to comment passive below. Comment passive. And the reason why is because once you're accountable and you realize, this is actually simpler than I thought, you quickly realize that maybe you want to take advantage of a way to do that also. So if you're interested, and I'm going to break this down for you right now, this is exactly what we actually do to get your business up and running. And just literally just copy this, guys. Just copy this. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Copy exactly what it is we're talking about right now. All right. So let me pull this up right here. Just grab this screen share. I'm going to break down exactly like what we do specifically because this question comes up all the time. And I know for a fact you're going to want to see this because this is probably like the most common thing. right? So you can literally steal our method, whether you work with us or not, just to make sure you're successful with this also, guys, right? So I like to call this the residual scaling system. And the reason I say this is because you're able to license this, and this is our proprietary method. But I'm going to give you a sneak peek on how to do this because you're watching this live. It's 2026. We're a weekend. Let's get this thing going. So this is basically a 28-day setup, right? Which means 1 month. You're up and running with the business within a month. So day 1 to 5, business setup is the foundations. Get the bank account, get the business, the EIN, whatever. This is quick. We actually would set you up with a foundational growth advisor, which I'll go into in a second. But that's the beginning. Then we get into the autonomy phase, which is usually about 1 to 2 weeks in, where you're actually doing this on your own, securing locations, you're getting that pep in your step, you're feeling good. Then it's time to actually get into the scaling phase. And the scaling phase is when, literally what I'm talking about, you're able to scale your business and you want to maximize the revenue at this point. And I'm going to break down exactly how this is going to work, right? So essentially what ends up happening is this, right? We start you off with a growth advisor. And when I say growth advisor, essentially what that means is you're going to have a business owner, literally somebody that's owned a business also, break down exactly what you need to do to be successful with this business. After that, you have your dedicated chat, 24/7 support. It's 5 a.m. right now for me. So obviously, we're up pretty late. We give you access to our systems, right? Our proprietary systems, everything you need, our playbooks, essentially how to make money, everything you get access to on a lifetime basis. Because let's be realistic, as much as we might say like, hey, it's a short-term business, we're going to be working this for a while. From there, you get a business starter kit, same one that all these smiling young lads have had, but essentially you're going to have one of these where it's going to have all your equipment, the needs of your actual business to get started. This is what we're going to provide to you, right? Same reason, same way federal officers, investors, crypto developers, they're doing the exact same thing, how they're successful. You get your starter device too. From there, we have our assessment call. Right? It's not a test, but essentially what ends up happening is you have questions. So we want to make sure where you're at, where you're looking to go, what's this clear game plan, and what your area looks like also. After the foundational phase, again, this is only a few days in. We do not take time. If you need to get on midnight on a Sunday, it's going to make that happen. We then have a location implementation call. So super simple. What this means is we will say, hey, this is literally how you're going to have your businesses up and running without us. And you're probably wondering, like, how would you do it without us? Well, shouldn't need us. If you need us, it's not your business. So we give you the training wheels, get you up and running, take them off so you can start running with it. So you're going to have your revenue monitoring dashboard. Really simple. What this means is you will have your own system to track all the profit you're making from the businesses you sign up. Because again, we are the processor, so we're able to handle that back-end transactions. But you got to see, like, you got to know that, hey, I'm bringing in 4K next month, because let's be realistic, it's going to get you to start working harder, and you'll start having different businesses like this. You'll see the volume of transaction, how much you're going to make, etc. So this is the best part, right? This is hands down, I think, one of the best parts of this. This is when you have your actual foundations, you have your plan in place. You can do this on your own, but we say, you know what? We're going to make sure you're successful. And here's how. We do done-for-you locations. So we'll actually have a triple and a quadruple screening system. So we'll get your zip code, we'll get your availability, days you are available, not available, etc. And then what ends up happening is this. We will find a business that's interested for you. We have an entire call center, been in the space for years, found 10, 15, 20,000 businesses for us across the world. So we use this exact same system, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So we'll find you the location, we'll find you the business that wants to work with you, and we'll do 99% of the work, meet with you to get you up and running. So what that means is we'll have a one-on-one chat with you, whether it's on Zoom, audio, etc., breaking down, hey, this is what you should say to the business, this is what you should do, etc. Right? So from there, what ends up happening is this. You meet with a merchant, you sign them up, and you're hungry. You're like, man, first one's down, let's freaking rock. You're like a pit bull with like a bone in their mouth. You just can't stop chewing because something finally worked. You're making your first dollar. This is when we enter into the scaling phase. And again, this is where fun starts to happen. Because once you have that first business, you realize that's not enough for me. So what we do is we build your brand. We literally build your brand. No one does this, guys. No one does this. So we'll build out your website, your online presence, everything you need, so that way businesses know you're legit and they start reaching out to you, which is how we get onto the leads on autopilot system. So essentially what ends up happening, we say, hey, you got some results, right? Yeah. You've made things work on your own, right? Now, how about we throw a little gasoline on the fire? So you start having businesses reach out to you, doing a few $100,000 a month, because they're like, hey, I saw your ad. I saw the way you do it. I'm really interested because no one else is doing this. So you literally start setting up things on autopilot, because we actually set up your CRM. What that means is your customer relationship manager. So what ends up happening is you have all these people reaching out to you and you run out of space. You're on your phone like, oh crap, man, Jeff wants to sign up. How do I figure this out? So we set it up for you also. Now you're at this point where you have a few locations, feeling a little confident. Maybe you start telling your friends like this is a business that we should start. I recommend you don't do that first of all, but we will have continual clinics, right? And it's almost like going to the doctor. We will go over different strategies, different things that are up to date, language learning models, every single thing you need to know to build your business. And you're also going to be around like-minded individuals. So you would think business is up and running, life's good, but that's not good enough for me, man. I am just, the Marine Corps caused some things to me. So you get access to our skeleton location network. So what this means is this, right? As you have found us from wherever, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, business owners do too, but we don't have enough people. So we say, hey, Jeff, William, Dante, etc. This is where it's at. Here's a business, reach out, make this happen, right? And I know you got to go. We're being done in 2 minutes, guys. This is super simple. So you get access to the skeleton location network. So as businesses reach out, we say, hey man, we got 4 businesses. Can you sign them up? They're in New York. Awesome. They're in Colorado, etc. Because your success is our success. Then this is the final part. We cross-sell. So you're able to offer 2 businesses in one, because let's be realistic. You sign up one, you're like, hey, how can I generate more revenue? You're able to take over their existing system and replace them free of charge because we have the systems to do that. We've been doing this for years, over 4 years, thousands of clients, thousands of locations. We know exactly what to do. You have an AI system to use. So this is how you get up and running within 30 days, meaning that it's January 6th right now. By February, you should have multiple businesses up and running. Now, here's the thing. The process that I described right now is actually really, really simple, right? It's the same model we use with thousands of people that have been successful. It's the same model that I've helped build and quit my own job because I was able to perfect this over the course of years. That's why we're able to license it. It's the same model that's going to build thousands of new businesses. It's January, guys. I'm telling you right now, things are getting crazy. I just dropped $300,000 on an office in Colombia because we're going into Latin America now. I was just in Dubai because there's a few banks we might partner with. It's getting crazy. But it's okay, because what ends up happening is this. Sometimes you're on the fence, right? You might be the thinker. You're like, hey, I need to be a little more deliberate. I'm not an action taker yet. That's okay. You can wait until we say, quote unquote, later, which happens. There's going to be more success. There's going to be more, quote unquote, proof. You're going to see more people doing it. This will be around. Again, this is going to be around. Don't worry about it. However, it comes down to this. How much of an opportunity do you think you're going to have in the future on this? Will Joe, will Jeff, etc. find out about this and do it themselves? Then you're going to start seeing these little devices all over and say, what the heck is going on? But if you want to get started now, meaning that you want to get ahead, you're like, hey, I got to make this happen, right? You got all the systems, you got the equipment, you got the processes, you got the team, you got the success, you got the results, you're in the Marines, whatever. Got something special. That same process, that same success, plus here's what I got for you, because you're watching this live. I'm only going to offer this to you. We have a special manager available that you can chat with, right? Not just a normal sales rep, a special manager that I was like, hey man, can you personally be able to take, let's just say, a few more calls for people that are interested, that they have questions. They want to figure out pricing, how it works, investment, all that good stuff. The normal questions, I get it. You got to ask yourself this. Who here wants to be started before February? Meaning that it's January 6th right now. You said, hey, I want to get everything up and running before February starts. If this is you and you're interested, this is what I got for you, right? What we're able to do is offer, I think we have 3 more left. There should be a few more. Special expert consultation calls. It's be with one of our team members, and they are going to be able to break down exactly how you can get up and running with the business. If this sounds like you, they're about 45-minute calls. I will reserve one for you personally right now. I just dropped the link below. You're going to see it right here. It's a scheduled call with one of our team members. They're going to be booked out until, I think, Thursday is like the last day you can book out. Click the link below. It's going to take you about 30 seconds to fill in your information, I think your phone number, etc. You're going to get a Zoom call with one of our team members, and they're going to break down what I showed you. They're going to answer your questions. And number one, they're going to make sure you're being successful. If this isn't for you, we're going to be the first one to tell you, don't do this. it's not worth it. Stick to what's working. You're working full time. You got this other investment, whatever it is. But if it is for you, because realistically it's going to be, what I want you to do is click the link below. One of our team members will have a call with you, right? And for this one specifically, it's going to be our manager, because I just want to make sure you get the most accurate information. You have an expert speaking to you because you were committed to watching this and interacting. And they will be able to answer your questions, go over different customized options for you. Because what we do, just so you know, is we customize it for you, because everyone's different. We have a federal judge, we have a single parents, we have an investor, we have a multi-business owner, dispensary owner, who knows, right? So we like to customize things for you to be successful. So you can click the link below. Again, we'll reserve, I think, how many do we have left? Four slots left for our expert special manager call available. That is only going to work for this live training today. So click the link below, reserve a time, make it work for you, get your answers, you get your questions answered. If it works, awesome, you have options. If not, you actually are able to break this down, right? So with that being said, what I want to do is go over a quick Q&A, guys. It's going to be about 5 minutes because I ran a little over, but we'll make this happen for you guys, right? So just to be clear, Recovery Expert USA, it's not today. This call link is for tomorrow at the earliest. We're completely slammed. It's not going to happen today, just so you know, right? We are backed up. The manager is like, no way, can't do this tonight, guys. So it's just what it is. There's so many people reaching out. You see this also. Thousands of others see it across the world. They're seeing this too. So you can click that link. You can schedule a call for tomorrow while it's available. The link's only good for today, by the way, right? So what else you do is comment. So some questions you guys might have below, right? So I'm going to start answering some of these questions, right? Let's just do this. I'm going to write these out because I saw a few commented. I'm going to scroll up real quick. We're going to answer these in order for the next 3 minutes, and that's it for today, guys, right? So let's do this. I'm going to pop this open, and we're going to do this. So first question is, where is it at? I don't have 45 minutes a day. Well, I answered that already. What's the next question we have after that? So is there going to be an annual license fee? No, there is not. We do not do anything. You have lifetime access to this. Next question is, when you say brand, what does that mean? Who picks that? Is it unique, or am I just part of someone else's brand? It's yours. So it's your website. You have your own website build out, social media, everything for you to actually have businesses reach out to you also, right? Excuse me, it's getting interesting. I have to go. No worries. You just won't get access to that link. Not a big deal, right? What cryptos can businesses accept through this device? Multiple. I think we have like 7 to like 10 right now. All the major ones. We'll actually give you like marketing materials also, just like I mentioned. But we have all the cryptos that are necessary to get up and running. Then we have passive. I'm back. I got booted off. What the heck? What's going on there? Location. Question. This is going to happen. It's inevitable for sure. What else do we have over here? So we have our link to book. Any other questions that we have? That's good to know. Crypto's in its infancy stage. For sure it is. Any questions? Earn, blows false. Yeah, I don't see any questions. That means we have covered everything. I try to do it week over week to make sure you're accurate, but I'm seeing it pop up right now, guys. All right. So looks like there's no questions, guys. So like I mentioned, if you're just tuning in and you do want to reserve one of those special manager slots, you can click the link below. It's only for today. We're not allowing this link elsewhere. You can always book one of the normal calls, but it's just going to be with a normal sales rep. If you use that link, it's going to be with our manager. All right. Now, again, guys, my name's Gennam Tekla, founder of Dividend Shift, former police sergeant, making it work. Is that the whole link? Yes, it is. Just click on it. It should pop up in a new one, and you'll be able to reserve the link. That is the only link you're going to have below. I'm going to post it also so you guys see. It's that link right there. It's a calendar link. So you're going to be able to see it, and it's going to click, and it's going to have some times depending on your time zone, but you'll get able to take advantage of one of those last 4 slots, right? Again, if you want to reserve a call later, you can. One of our team members will be happy to talk to you, but I'm just going to be realistic. They're just a normal sales rep. But if you use that link, our manager will specifically be able to talk to you also, guys, all right? Because I wanted something special for you, just because I know you're watching this live. You want to get educated before you take any action, which is respectable. I love that. I'm the same way. I like to research and then boom, take action quick, right? Same thing for you. You'll be able to take advantage with one of our team members. So With that being said, my name is Ganam Tekla. I am founder of Dividend Shift. I will catch you guys on the next live training.